Well, here's some big news this morning. A push to hold FBI Director Christopher Wray in contempt of Congress called off.
This after the Bureau finally agrees to give all the members of the House Oversight Committee a chance to see that document that allegedly links the then vice president to a bribery scheme.
All right, here you go. Lucas Tomlinson joins us for the latest from Washington. Lucas.
Well, good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. That's right. House Oversight Committee James Comer scrapping plans to hold FBI Director Christopher Wray in contempt of Congress. Comer's about-face comes after the FBI agreed to let all members of the Oversight Committee review that FBI document alleging then Vice President Biden accepted a $5 million bribe. Comer saying in a statement, quote, allowing all Oversight Committee members to review this record is an important step toward conducting oversight of the FBI and holding it accountable to the American people. The top Democrat on the committee, Jamie Raskin, responding, quote, Chairman Comer's acceptance of these further accommodations comes after he has spent weeks attacking the FBI despite its extraordinary efforts to provide committee Republicans the information they claim to seek. Now, Raskin claims the FBI already investigated Biden's bribe allegation under then Attorney General Bill Barr and found no wrongdoing, a point disputed by Barr, who tells Fox, quote, it's not true. It wasn't closed down. On the contrary, it was sent to Delaware for further investigation. Someone else claiming not true, former President Donald Trump had reports surfaced that federal prosecutors notified his attorneys that he is now the target of a criminal investigation regarding his handling of classified materials after leaving the White House. Trump responding, quote, no one has told me I'm being indicted, and I shouldn't be because I've done nothing wrong. But I have assumed for years that I am the target of the weaponized DOJ and FBI, starting with the Russia hoax, the no collusion Mueller report, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, the perfect Ukraine phone call, and various other scams and witch hunts, a travesty of justice and election interference at a level never seen before. Republicans in Congress must make this their number one issue. Now, both Trump and President Biden remained under separate federal investigations over their handling of classified materials, guys.
Indeed. All right, Lucas, thank you very much. ABC News this morning is reporting that former President Trump got a letter from the special counsel Jack Smith's office, apparently recently, informing him that he's the target of an ongoing investigation regarding his handling of classified documents when he was out of office. The Washington Post is reporting this morning that the Department of Justice prosecutors are planning to bring a significant portion of any charges against the former president for mishandling classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, not in D.C., but actually in the Southern District of Florida near Mar-a-Lago. And in fact, yesterday, a former Trump aide by the name of Taylor Budowich testified before a grand jury down in Miami. So the question is Jack Smith close to what's going on? There are a million rumors out there about what could happen very shortly, what's going on with the grand jury's indictment. Did different former cabinet officials or staff members flip on the former president? We could know shortly.
Yeah, and people are saying that they're convening that second grand jury down in the southern part of Florida, which could be better news for him.
Better jury pool.
Exactly, than Washington. And Trump, he wrote on Truth Social, he said they're going to hit Hunter with something small to make their strike on me look fair.
Well, forget about Hunter. I have a better analogy. What about the president? The president had documents at the Penn Center. He had documents in his house.
Joe Biden.
He had documents in his garage. He had documents at the University of Delaware. He had documents in his lawyer's Boston office. They had documents in Chinatown. Have we heard anything about these documents? Right. Is this a library error? Is this a rebuke? Right. Or is this a raid? One, we have a series of documents. Could be the most serious documents. Maybe it could be something from 1983. It could be something from 1993. That's how far back he goes in government.
And then what about the other document that House Oversight's going to look at? It alleges a $5 million crime involving then Vice President Biden and foreign nationals possibly exchanging money for policy.
Right.
That's illegal.
And that was the initial thing that you were talking about, which Lucas was talking about. But just so amazing is Jamie Raskin doing his Adam Schiff impersonation of misinterpreting or misrepresenting what he was reading in his skiff. When William Barr, he just said, William Barr looked at this and there was nothing there. That is not true. He said, there's a lot here. Let me send it to Delaware for an investigation. And the bigger question is, what has going on with the investigation after 4 years? And why is it that a whistleblower had to leave that investigation, had to come forward and say, hey, Mr. Raskin, can I finish? James Comer. Right. Hey, James Comer, we have. I gave this 1023 years ago. No one's ever filed up an investigation. Look at it. So a whistleblower came forward again because he was frustrated that he risked his reputation and nothing's happened. And then to mischaracterize William Barr as if he's no longer on the planet or reading a newspaper is unbelievable. Right. Is Jamie Raskin going to be called out for this? Adam Schiff got a total pass.
Jamie Raskin, if you don't know, is the congressman. He's the Democrat that's on Oversight Committee with Comer. And the two of them were the ones that originally read that document.
Right. He said yesterday he 100% stands by what he said. Speaking of William Barr, regarding the potential indictment of Donald Trump regarding all of these things, Bill Barr said Tuesday he thinks not only will the former president be charged, but he said Trump deserves it. He said this is not a case of the Department of Justice conducting a witch hunt.
Well,
from the former Attorney General for Mr. Trump. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.